And we are live. Welcome back to another trading stream here at Sin City Crypto. My name is David. I'll be your host for today. And on your title, you might be saying, David, why do you want a dip down to $81,000? I'm explaining you exactly why. On today's show, I'm excited to be here with you guys. Also, we're going to obviously look at some charts. We'll talk a little bit about Mantra, and getting a lot of questions. Should I be buying the dip for Mantra Ohm? We'll take a look at the price action, although I don't even know if that's necessary, but we'll talk about it from a fundamental and technical standpoint. Also, some bullish metrics for ETH. We'll talk about that as well. So welcome in, everyone. Make sure to like the video and let's jump in. So I got to start with a meme. Okay. Let me allow me to make this bigger so you all can see what I've been laughing at for the last 10 minutes. So, new executive order has been signed by President Donald Trump. Your technical analysis is no match against my tweets, and that is so true. I asked Alex O, which shout out to Alex O. I love having him on the show. This morning when I was on the morning live show, is hey, what's your strategy, or how are you altering your trading strategy with a president that literally decides to polish off a 20-piece chicken McNugget at midnight or 1 a.m. and then decides to tweet, we're tariffing the world, or we're dropping tariffs, and how it moves the markets. What's your strategy? And I've said it and I'll say it again. Take profits early. Don't be in trades for too long because anything can happen, and don't get greedy. If you're up 15, 20%, you're happy with it, take it. Bring your TP levels down or have multiple TP levels and take profit at those levels. And have really tight stop losses, and be prepared, and don't be afraid to pivot when you need to pivot. With that being said, I want to jump into a BTC chart first. Now, we talked about this on the morning show a little bit, but I'm expanding on it a little bit more. And so this is the pattern that I'm seeing on BTC right now. It's on the 4-hour, and this is a rising wedge for BTC, and we're coming towards the end of it, and you can see essentially an M pattern, which is typically a bearish pattern. So a double top, and you see we had that tiny deviation barely outside this trend line. We came right back in, and price is currently right at the lower end of this trend line. Now, we do expect this thing to break to the downside, and I think the level Alex O mentioned today was perfect. The level I'm targeting is between 80.6K and $82,000 for BTC to see a retracement, and if it does, this is what we are looking at, my friends. Let me hide these. We are looking at a potential inverse head and shoulders pattern, depending on where we land. Now, obviously, if we extend below 74.3, then this gets invalidated. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think at the I don't even want to say worst case scenario, because it wouldn't even be the worst case, but 80K, we get a bounce and a clean rebound, and you're testing your neckline at around 85.8. This breakout, I believe, would take us past $90,000. Let's see. From a neckline breakout, 96.4, which would be massive because it would clear this high we had back on the 2nd of March, which was on a Sunday. That's when Bitcoin absolutely rallied. This is on the daily chart, by the way. 94.4 is where it got stopped at, and then we saw that big drawdown for BTC. So this is why the title of today's show is, please, can we get a retracement down to 81K? Now, obviously, if this thing continues to run, let's say some bullish news comes out, obviously, I'm not going to be upset. But for BTC, this would be an ideal setup for a bullish pattern to the upside. And then you start going on the daily, on the weekly, which, again, I'm so bummed out we couldn't get this double engulfing pattern here. This candle to engulf the prior 2 weeks, that would have been so bullish. And again, I'll just revisit it really quick. Last time that happened was here back in July of 2021, and BTC rallied, I believe, 129% from wick to wick. And so that is where we're at now, my friends. Structure change. I do believe we need to get above 80, we'll call it $90,000 for the structure to change. Take a look at Market Cipher B on the weekly. Green dot, momentum wave coming down, creating a higher low on the momentum wave oscillator. And then we did just get this is on the weekly, so a very high time frame, a bullish crossover on our VWAP, and money flow has remained green. We take this tiny deviation away, which happened the week of September 18th of 2023. We've really been in the green for money flow since July 3rd, the week of July 3rd of 2023. And we're looking for that to continue to move upwards. This is again on the higher time frames for BTC. So we clear this 88K, we come down 81, create that inverse head and shoulders, rally to the upside. Things are looking good for BTC. Let's go down the 1 hour and let's take a peek. Let me go back in here. Let's get rid of you. We'll keep the rest. See if we see any patterns here for BTC. Rising wedge again on the hour. We'll take a look at market cipher B on the 1 hour. We're about to get a negative crossover here on the VWAP, but you can see this is starting to curve inwardly. So the bulls are picking up a little more momentum for BTC on the lower time frames. If we go super low time frames, maybe the 15-minute, this would have been a great. Let's see how this would have played out, right? This anchor wave, trigger wave entry here on BTC on the daily. Would that have been a false signal or a real signal? By the way, those of you that are asking for market cipher, we do have an affiliate code now that's going to be in the description of the video. And this would have been actually a nice trade setup as well. If we entered on the next candle, 1%, not really, unless you're like 80x leverage for BTC. But the problem with this one would have been, one, you want that first anchor wave, the momentum wave, to cross below the 60 line, right? You have a dash line and a solid line. You want it to cross below, and then the trigger wave is a lot smaller. It would look something like this, closer to our 0 line. And so we saw those opportunities to trade in a Uniswap trade, which ended up working in our favor. We made a little money there. And so for BTC, again, on the 4 hour, looking for this thing to break down, this rising wedge pattern for BTC. And we're targeting between 80 to 82,000, 80 to 82.5 for BTC. Let's take a look at the rest of the markets. Let's start on the week. So the biggest gainers on the week, XCN, aka Onyx Coin, up 127% on the week. Fart Coin up 80% on the week. You know, I saw a post on X, and I can pull up a Fart Coin chart and I can talk through this. Are we even a serious industry where we have a project like Fart Coin that's up 90%? Is leading the entire pack. Let me find where I had my Fart Coin. Where did I stuff it? There you are, Farty. All right, Fart Coin. Let's talk through this on the higher time frame for Fart Coin. So beautiful cup and handle pattern that broke to the upside. The initial rally, we had a little bit of a retracement that didn't last very long, and then this thing just keeps pushing to the upside. Now, someone said on X, "Hey, Fart Coin is about to reclaim $1 billion. What happens?" And Bitcoin's at 85K. What happens when Bitcoin's trading at all-time highs? What happens to Fart Coin? I say, well, it'll probably have a pullback. Take a look at what Caspa was doing, okay? And actually, we can take a look at what Caspa was doing. Let's take a peek at Caspa. I know a lot of you are big Caspa fans, as am I. Pull up a Caspa chart real quick. And so, guys, I just want to say, I know the times and the amount I've been streaming have kind of been all over the place. There is a lot going on with our expansion in the back. And so shit pops up. I need to step away. I can't do it. But once it's done, which should be by the end of next week, this stream, along with the other ones, will be on a more, just like the live show in the morning, exact time on a more consistent basis. And now I forgot what the hell I was looking at. Caspa. Where are you, Caspa? Oh, I guess I got to do this again. Let's pull up a Caspa chart. So what I'm trying to show you guys is when Caspa was really rallying, nothing was really moving, okay? And then it was just Caspa on its own, which, by the way, we did get almost a perfect tap on this 5.1 cent level, which I've had this on the chart for quite a while. I believe this is a 1 month SR level here. And this one, a double bottom. So this is a nice W pattern. So this thing should continue to push to the upside. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked here. Caspa ran from around a penny and a half back in June of 2023, and it absolutely exploded. Okay. Let's take a peek at that move. We'll call it 1.2 cents, 1,600% rally. And the rest of the altcoins, they were kind of rallying, some were choppy, definitely not 1,600%. And then when Bitcoin started running towards mid-2024, summer of 2024, what did Caspa do? Caspa actually retraced. Caspa hit its high the very last day of July, and since then, from peak to trough, down 75%. And so don't be surprised if something similar happens to projects like Fartcoin. Everything else is chopping sideways. We're seeing small spurts in price action to the upside. But at the end of the day, Fartcoin is outpacing literally everything in the market. And so expect, don't be surprised, and maybe even expect, when others start to rally, when ETH starts to rally, when Bitcoin starts to rally, when Caspa starts to rally again, which this consolidation for Caspa, this kind of downtrend, looks like it's getting ready to break. Let's actually, on the daily, let's draw some cool lines here, my friends. To take it back to art class here. And so this was kind of our longer term downtrend for Caspa. Got a breakout, didn't get a retest. And so can we get a retest back to this 5.9 to 6 cent region? Sure. If it does, I am a big buyer here. That is from a spot perspective and from a leverage trades perspective. If we do come back and retest the top end of this, if we get a positive retest and it becomes new support, what it has been resistance really since December of 2024, I'm a big buyer here for Caspa. But the chart looks really good. Again, nice double bottom for Caspa. Should see continue more push to the upside. If we throw on our price action concepts here, take a look at some order blocks. What are we seeing? Our previous week high is currently sitting at around 8 cents. Daily, nothing really in terms of gaps that I'm seeing. We do have a large order block here around 11.2 cents. But we're still pretty, we're about a 40% gain from there. Let's go to the 4 hour. Should see a little more data there on the 4 hour. So we had this big liquidity grab at the previous week high, which again is sitting at 8 cents. And so that is where Caspa got rejected again. So the liquidity grab happened today at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then we pushed up there again. And then you see Caspa reversing. So this might actually be coming into... Oh, look at this. Okay. So 4 hour. I'm sure you guys already front running my pattern here. Cup and handle pattern. Beautiful cup and handle. Let's draw a fib here. So the level that makes the most sense to me is going to be that 7.56 cent level, which is our 50% retracement on with the Fibonacci retracement. You do have your golden pocket sitting between 7.44 and 7.47 cents. I don't think we'll get that low. If we do, you see how price has reacted. We wick down here, we close above, wick down here, close above. We did lose that golden pocket, but this was from the move that we have here from Sunday at around 11, what was this? Around 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so look for this pattern to play out for Caspa. A beautiful, the best handle anyone's ever seen. Chop sideways, and look for that breakout. The measured move on this one, my friends. Let's measure the depth of this cup. And we'll be a little, we'll be a little conservative. And depending on where this neckline breaks, or depending on where this handle stops. If it stops here around, let's just say 7.7 cents, you're looking at a push up to that 8.28 cent level, which again, we essentially saw a triple top on wicks. And then price ultimately fell. A key area here for Caspa is 8.8 cents. If we clear that, I think it's a clean shot to 12. We cleared 12. You're looking at 18 to 20% for Caspa. And again, while everything has kind of rallied, Caspa has been in this downtrend. And so I think we're talking about 4 or 5 months of consolidation and downward price action. We should see another big rally out of Caspa. So those of you that have been holding or accumulating, adding to your bags, I think you're about to be fairly handsomely rewarded. Let's take a look at Ohm. So what a disaster. I did actually record a short today talking about Mantra, what happened, and whether people should buy the dip or not. I see a lot of that happening. But this was nasty. Now, we don't know exactly what happened. Again, there's a lot of finger pointing going on. But for mantra, Robin's thesis was it's too late in the bull market for this thing to recover. I actually disagree. I didn't get a chance to make this point during the morning show. Well, because if you watch the morning show, you know exactly why. But for me, I look at this as, okay, this thing ran at $8. It just got listed on HTX, right? Which I'm like, why are you guys doing that? I don't know, man. I'm looking at 60 cents. And if you are and this is not what I'm doing. I'm staying away from this project. Very, very centralized control of the tokens, the tokenomic change, the airdrop. There's a bunch of red flags that were there on top of the absurdity of offering 50 to 70% discounts on OTC deals. That is like unheard of and absurd. And so once we find out exactly what happened, again, we know it's not a rug. We know it wasn't a hack. So, but something fishy happened. And so if you're sitting here, you're looking at a project that was at $8 to $10 billion, and I was sitting at 500 million. If your risk appetite is high and you're willing to sit on a complete L and watch it go to zero, 60 cent ohm, the reward might be there for the risk. Again, not for me. This is not what I am doing, but I'm not going to sit here and say this is an absolute, you will lose money. I think the chances of losing money are high. Let's face it. Luna went down. Ecosystem was massive. Mantra went down. Ecosystem, nothing. So it didn't really have a cascading effect on the rest of the crypto markets, which obviously is a good thing. But the other flip side of it too was there was really no one building on it. There was no dApps. There was no liquidity. There was no TVL. There was no onboarding. There was really nothing. And so what was this token really? That's the other thing you got to, from a fundamental standpoint, that is the other thing you got to keep in mind. From a TA standpoint though, if the project stays the same and the reason people got in remains the reason that people will continue to get in, this might be a decent scalp opportunity. Again, I'm not doing this. I'm not touching this. I think there's better places to park your money. But for those of you that have super high risk tolerance, might be worth a shot. If you do that, my one advice to you would be whatever amount of money you stick into this thing, be prepared to lose it. Be okay with watching the entire position go to zero. And so that's my one piece of advice. This was interesting. This is crypto money flow on the daily from cryptometer.io, and net inflows on the day time frame, by the way. Net inflows, BTC was a winner at 125 million of inflows. ETH came in at number 2 with $30 million. And when we look at outflows, where was it? Ohm obviously saw the highest amount of outflows at $37.4 million. And then I don't even think ETH made the list. You had 17 million flow out of XRP. You had 21.5 million flow out of SWI. Tron saw 15.3 million. And ETH is nowhere to be found on net outflows, which obviously is a good thing. Speaking of ETH, take a look at this chart right here, my friends. This is from Crypto Quant. This is ETH balance on accumulation addresses. So addresses, I believe the number is that hold for more than 6 months. Okay. This is the chart. And actually, let me go back to full screen. This thing has gone absolutely vertical since ETH's price dipped down at $2,500. This thing has gone vertical and it has accelerated. And so what this tells me is the wallets that have been comfortable holding Ethereum for X amount of time, for at least 6 months or 1 year, it's one of the two for this metric chart here, they're accumulating at a massive rate. And so while we all sit here and say ETH is trash, ETH is slow, which, hey, it's slow, it's kind of trash, right? At the end of the day, look where big money is going, and they're continuing to buy. The other thing here as well, which I think is really important, this is ETH's realized price for the accumulation addresses, okay? So the same addresses that are accumulating, this is their realized price, is your orange line here. And you can see twice, okay? 2 times. Let me go full screen here so you guys can see. Also, if I can zoom in. Twice we've seen deviations of price below realized price. Once was in December of 2018, and ETH came down to $87, where its realized price was $92, and ETH shortly rallied to $151 in a month. Okay, the next one, very small deviation. This was back in 2020. Now we can exclude that and say, 2020, COVID, a lot of shit happened, okay? But either way, ETH had a massive rally. And look at this deviation we're at now, my friends. Realized price versus actual price. And this is only going back to the 11th of April, so on Friday. Realized price is $2,000, and your price is where it's at now. It's $1,500, $1,600. So this massive deviation is it's going to break back to the upside. It's going to revert back to the mean. It's going to revert back what it has done from the history of this chart, which goes back to 2017, is price remains above realized price for these accumulation addresses. And so don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. And the big money is accumulating Ethereum. Speaking of big money and smart money, I wanted to show you this from Nansen.ai. These are the top tokens that smart money is trading. IMX comes in at number 1 over the last 7 days with $1.16 million of IMX tokens that have been traded. But the important one here, my friends, is what is smart money holding? Okay? What is smart money holding? Change over the last 24 hours, and the minimum barrier here is $500 million in valuation. Okay? So market cap has to exceed $500 million for it to make this list. And number 1, I think this is this Alchemy or Nuance? So this is a recently launched, okay? That is number 1. That is up 3,100% as far as balances for smart money over the last 24 hours. And the next one is Mantra at 20 million, at 20%, 6,700, okay? Now, to be fair, the amount of holders is 1. So this is 1 smart money holder doing this. So I take that with a grain of salt. But then you have Bonk, you have Cake, and then you have IMX as well. $9.3 million. Their balance has exceeded. And you take a look here. This one's got 19 smart traders as far as wallets and holders. And so just something interesting to keep in mind. You know, we always look at price action, and we talk from how we're feeling and what we think. And the price went up X. But what is happening under the hood? What is happening to users? What is happening to smart money? What are the whales doing? They're accumulating Bitcoin, they're accumulating Ethereum, and they're buying the dip on the big time projects. With that being said, I'm just going to take a quick peek at the chat here. If you're new, say hello. Welcome to everyone. Big thank you to the mods for keeping the conversation going. If there's anything you'd like me to take a look at from a fundamental or technical standpoint, please, I'll be more than happy to do so. Just drop a comment in the live chat. Mohammed, why did the chicken cross the road? I have so many answers for you that we don't even have time to go through them. BNB to 1,500 and then to 0. Do we have, Mohammed, is that your, is ES Muhammad's burner account? Because we don't need more than one person telling us everything's going to 0. All jokes aside though, BNB, we can talk through this on a chart here, but I'm pretty bullish on BNB, man. I hold a little bit. It's not any large portion of my portfolio, but for BNB, another double bottom here. We should get another push to the upside. This is on the daily. Let's check the weekly here for BNB. See if we see any patterns. So we've had multiple wicks, and this value area box here that we've had has been there for I would say about a month and a half to 8 weeks to 2 months. And you can see how price has reacted every time. We come down here, and the bottom end of this level, I'll drop a flag here, is $504. Okay, close below. We get everything back the next 2 candles. Close below, reversal hammer candle, we push through. A spinning top here, we push through. Wick, immediately recover. Wick, immediately recover. Wick, immediately recover. So if you can catch BNB between, this is more for your spot bags, by the way, if you're interested in spot bags, if you can catch BNB anywhere between $504 and $565, it would be an absolute steal. For BNB, but we take a look at the lower time frames. First thing I want to do is I want to take a look at, are there any patterns that are emerging here for BNB? And the one thing that I am seeing is on the 1 hour, keep in mind, is this head and shoulders pattern Pretty ugly one. But did get a bounce on the neckline. Now, these things do tend to break to the downside, so keep that in mind. But we got a positive bounce on that neckline, which is good. But don't, I would expect this thing to come back and retest this neckline again, which is sitting right around $580 for BNB. On the 1 hour, let's take a look at what market cipher B is telling us on the 1 hour. We did get a bearish crossover on the VWAP. Stochastics and the RSI are pointing down, and it looks like actually that was so we got a bearish crossover on the money flow on the 1 hour. The VWAP is still trading below zero. We never got a cross to the upside. And so could we get a green dot here, which could potentially be a setup for a momentum and trigger wave entry for a long on BNB? If we throw on, and let's go full screen chart. Let me get rid of this head and shoulders pattern. And let's throw on market cipher A. Let's take a peek here. So we got constricting moving average bands here. And so could we get another reversal of the trend back to the upside here for market cipher A? Nothing else we're really seeing on the 1 hour. We can zoom into the 4 hour. We did get a blood diamond on BNB, which is, if you watched any of the market cipher videos, a blood diamond is I think what they say is short with two hands. And so the last time BNB saw a blood diamond on the 4 hour, let's take a peek. Open to close low, not even wick, was around an 11% drop. And so we did get that blood diamond here. Now, again, when you see a flashing indicator or a signal or a sign, it's not to tell you that you should get into a trade right away, whether it's a long or a short, but it's hey, use some precaution and know what the hell you're doing, and be careful if you are going to enter into a long position here on BNB. If we take a look at market cipher B on the lower time frames, let's take a look if we spot any trends here. See if we can snag maybe a long or a short. So this ended up being a nice bear flag pattern here on BNB. And again, this is on the 10-minute. That broke to the downside, as it should for BNB. Didn't quite get that. Well, we kind of got a retest on this trend line, and it continues to spill off. So BNB, I wouldn't be looking for a long just yet, but we might we might actually get a really nice long opportunity here around. Let's get rid of market cipher A and let's drop some lines here. Let's drop some horizontals, my friends. Let's actually go to the higher time frame. Let's go to the 4 hour. Drop one there. That's 580.76. That's one. Let me clear up my chart here. All right, so we got two. One is at 580.76, which we already got a bounce off of, right? This is where a price closed above and then immediately got rejected. We got to push through, we got to retest, and we got to bounce. And that is kind of where we are now. If we zoom back into the 10-minute for BNB, we should see a bounce at around $580, although it looks like we're actually getting a bounce now. Let's take a look at market cipher B. What are we seeing as far as money flow? Looks like a potential inverse head and shoulders on the momentum waves here. There's your left shoulder, there's your head, and then if this thing doesn't come down and cross below our 60, is going to be your right shoulder for a potential reversal here to the upside on market cipher B. RSI looks like it's starting to point up again, which is good. Money flow, though, is continuing to expand, and we want to see that VWAP come and break to the upside. We can even zoom in to maybe the 5-minute chart here on market cipher B. Want to see that crossover on the VWAP. Let's go to the 1 minute here. 1 minute, we did get a crossover, and let's take a peek here on the 1 minute. We're seeing expanding VWAP to the upside, which is good, but money flow is still red on the 1 minute. the 3-minute and the 5-minute. Looks like the 5 minutes is looking to expand, but we do want to see a reversal push to the upside. So for BNB, for me at least, I'm not touching this for a trade. If we get down to this 580 level, I'd be interested in potential trade. The last few times prices come down here, and I always like to take a look at historically, even on the lower time frames, what has price done when it has visited these levels? Wick to wick, this was a 1% rally. Okay, so not too big. Wick to wick, this was around a 0.5% rally. This one, wick to wick, if you would have exited at the top, was around a 0.6 rally. But the overall rally from the last time we came down here, which essentially ended up being a triple bottom for BNB, that rally was around a 2% rally multiplied by your leverage. Would have been a decent scalp for a long for BNB, but again, remember, these are on these super low time frames for BNB. We take a look at the rest. I wanted to take a peek at what I want to take a look at. I want to take a look at the biggest daily gainers. We already went over Fartcoin. We went over Caspa. If there's anything you guys want me to take a look at, please let me know. Today's show is going to be a little shorter than usual. We got the PC in the back, and so Rob and I are going to be hooking up all the audio and the video in the back there. But if there's anything you want to take a look at in the meantime, my friends, please let me know. I'm just going to peek into the chat here, seeing a lot of what's going on here. Is there a little infighting going on here? Let me give you a crash course. Everything is going to zero. Yeah, everything's going to zero for sure, dude, for sure. And so, guys, everything is really range bound right now. And so what I would suggest to everyone is remain patient. Also, if you're in the Discord, if you're in our Discord and you're part of the VVIP group, there's a bunch of scalp and swing signals coming in from Buy DeFi, and a lot of them have been hitting pretty good. And so just keep that in mind. One thing I do want to take a look at, I want to take a look at a little bit of macro here. The VIX was down today, which is good. This was down around 17%, so we're sitting at a 30. Dixie down under 100. Typically, this is spelled good for risk on assets, which includes BTC. We saw green across macro today. The Dow Jones closed up. SPX closed up. And this is daily. And then the IXIC, which is the NASDAQ, also closed up. And I think the more important thing here too, guys, bond market rates went down. And the big one here is the 10-year. That went down 2.5%. You start seeing bond rates go up, it's Fed's going to step in, but you're probably, along with tariffs, going to see a spike in inflation. So just keep that in mind. These are where even crypto now is even more interwoven with macro and the stock market and the bond market than it's ever been before, because of the ETFs, because of the adoption, because of the cabinet that President Trump has put in place that's super pro Bitcoin. So just keep that in mind and don't neglect these data points and how it can affect potentially whether you're in a trade or your spot bags. And then I did want to take a peek at Solana. Now, Solana has been an interesting one for me, and this one actually on the daily looks like it's coming into a really nice inverse head and shoulders pattern as well. Now, once you find one, and the target I'd be looking at, ideally for a beautiful entry would be somewhere in the range of $110 to around $118. Do we get there? I don't know. Solana moves fairly fast, but this would be a pretty good move. The measured move on this one sits at around 166 for Solana. Now, remember, this is on the higher time frame. We take a look at market cipher B. Seeing nice and rounded here, right? We had our peak on money flow back on the 22nd of March. We want to see this thing continue to contract, and we want to get a break above that midline. RSI, though, is showing pretty high on the daily. And so for this one, it's a wait and see. I fully expect one more retrace. I expect it out of Bitcoin. I expect it out of Solana and the overall markets. And you're going to see a lot of very bullish setups across the board. And again, not just Bitcoin, but in a vast majority of altcoins as well, as we come into a bunch of these inverse head and shoulder pattern setups for alts, including Solana, of course. Let's get rid of this one. We'll come back to you maybe later, Mr. Inverse Head and Shoulders. Like, the thing with TA, unless you're in the super low time frames for crypto, it's all the structure is usually all the same, right? They all have these higher time frames, inverse head and shoulders. They all have these lower time frames, rising wedges, rising channels that will break to the downside. Now, the measured move for this one, we measured the width of this channel breakout. You're looking at 115, which is kind of in that zone on the higher time frame for that potential retrace setup for that inverse head and shoulders pattern on the lower time frame. It looks like on the 1 hour, we are getting a break below. Now, this one is interesting to me. So as far as, hey, David, I want to know what I can trade. Wait for a retest. Wait for a retest of this trend line and then enter into a short, depending on what we see. Take a look at market cipher B. Take a look at market cipher A. Do we get any signals here? To get a continuation signal on the bearish momentum here on market cipher A. Wait for a retest. I would not enter here because we're probably getting another push to the upside. If we do get a push to the upside, the short I'm targeting, depending on when and where, would be anywhere between 130 to, we'll call it 130 to $131. Get into a short. You want to make sure, though. Actually, I take it back. Let me rewind a little bit. Do not enter on the 130 retest. Wait to see what it does. Enter on the next candle. If we get something like this, we come back, we retest, and it ends up being a deviation, we come right back in, we could come in and retest the top end of this channel, which would put us at around $142, and then you're out money, you lose. What you want to do, and sometimes you got to correct ourselves in real time. We get the retest. What does the next candle do? Okay. Is the next candle, and I am so bad at drawing. Look at that beautiful candle. That is so bad. I got to get that off the screen. The next candle, what is it going to do? Is it going to give us a close below again, or are we going to get that and it just ends up being a deviation? We get a pushback to the upside. So enter in on the second candle. Retest, wait one more candle. And these are 1 hour candles, so it shouldn't take that long. See what price action does. And then you can enter into a short. But as far as for Solana, a short was I'd be looking. Honestly, I'd be looking for shorts across the board. I think we get one more pullback, and it could be accelerated by a tweet. It just could be structure of the market. So, yeah. Guys, I'm gonna wrap this thing up. I'm gonna go help my friend Rob in the back. A lot of shit to do back there. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. I posted some pictures. For now, following our Sin City podcast handle on X. Go do so. It's just Sin City Podcast on X. Also, join our Discord. Get VVIP trading access. You'll get scalp signals, swing signals. You get our trade signals. And it's literally free. You don't got to pay us anything. You just got to create a Buy DeFi account with our link. Deposit $100 for yourself to trade, and that's it. Pretty easy. I love you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning for the live show. Until then, my friends. Peace.